How's everybody doing? Good?
Yes.
So we were backstage all paying attention, locked in. I am just honored, first of all, to say it is such an honor to be here today with these amazing women and talk to you all. This panel, I have some rock stars here. We're going to talk about pay equity, but not necessarily in just the form of monetization, but in terms of respect and what we do in sports. So I'm going to have each of the ladies just identify who they are briefly, and then we'll dive right in. I'll start with you first, Kathy.
Yes, great, Cari. Thank you. It's great to be here. Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the WNBA.
Hey, I'm Bianca Valenti, and I'm a professional big wave surfer.
And I am AJ Andrews. I'm a professional softball player and the very first woman to ever win a Rawlings Gold Glove.
Woo! By way of background, I'm a sports broadcast journalist. My name is Cari Champion, and AJ will say she's the first woman in the 56 years of existence of that award. So that is huge,
All that.
you guys, huge. I'll start with you first, Kathy. Kathy and I have a relationship. We've been able to chat a few times. I have seen the comings and goings of the presidents of the WNBA. You have the title of commissioner. Why is that? Why was that so important to you in terms of your background and where you came from, and why you wanted that same title that Adam Silver has?
Yeah, so I was never into titles for sure, but when you're trying to signal that this is a major professional sports leagues have commissioners. They don't have presidents, they have commissioners. So this was a signal, a seat at the table, and an empowerment around the role. And it was Adam who came up with the idea to make me a commissioner. And I couldn't be more pleased as to the seat at the table it gives me with other commissioners of other major sports leagues, mostly male sports leagues, and to be able to really network in that community and find out what's working, what's not working as it comes to really elevating the WNBA and these elite women athletes.
The beauty of this panel is that a lot of these women are the first. And when you are the first in many areas, you have to be a trailblazer. You have to deal with a lot of uncomfortable situations, and you have to learn to, I guess, maneuver in a way in which has not been done before. In terms of your background, can you tell everyone what you did prior to becoming the commissioner of the WNBA?
Right, so the basketball is my second career, and by the way, it's a pretty good second career. My kids think I'm cool now. But I spent 33 years at a firm called Deloitte, very, very advanced as far as women's initiatives and gender equality, and became the first female CEO of any major professional services firm. So as I was wrapping up my time there, I said I wanted to do something different, something with a women's leadership platform, and something I had a passion for. And I had played college basketball, and my father was drafted into the NBA in Detroit Pistons in 1957. So had some basketball DNA in me, and it was just time to do something where I thought this had a huge women's leadership platform, and we just announced our groundbreaking collective bargaining agreement, and guess what? It does have a huge women's leadership platform.
Yeah, so it comes full circle. This is amazing, so congratulations. I'm going to put a pin in that. I know, yes. Right? Bianca, talk to us. So your world, I would think, is much like the world of sports, is very male-dominated. Talk to me about how you've been able to shatter stereotypes and be the first in your world.
Yeah, well, I fell in love with surfing when I was 7 years old, and that same week I decided I wanted to become a champion. And then when I was in my teens, I realized that girls didn't have the same opportunities as the boys, and that crushed me at the time. And so now that I am a more mature surfer, we've been able to win equal pay for all female surfers. Yep, my friends and I created a group called the Committee for Equity in Women's Surfing, and it turns out that when you catch really big waves, like the height of this ceiling, that people's minds open up and realize that women can do anything.
Wait, you know what? I'm pulling an audible here. Do we have the video of Bianca? I saw that there's a video that we had of you in a wave, and if we do, yeah, there we go. Look your girl out. Just the average day at work.
Like it's nothing.
Wow.
Get up!
Mario. That was actually my equal pay wave.
I love
I
it.
got that wave the week after we won equal pay.
Yeah.
And you earned your pay now.
Yeah, that was like the victory lap.
Bianca, you talk.
But we still have a long way to go.
Yeah,
so.
a long way to go. You talk about equal pay, but let's talk about equal respect. Do you still feel, as someone who, I mean, that's amazing what we're watching here, but do you feel as if you have the same respect as your male colleagues?
You know, unfortunately, no. From my colleagues who I'm surfing in the water with every day, yes. But it's kind of like they will view me as an exception to the rule. And so, yeah, we need opportunity to compete in all the same high-profile events, and we need the same media exposure, and we need all of the support from the leaders in the industry and in the whole entire world to get that.
And that's why we're here today, to bring some attention to it. And I think that it's definitely overdue. AJ, we have to talk softball.
Let's do that.
In so many different ways. I've been a fan of yours for so long, and I've watched you grow, and you are elegant on and off the field. So this is an opportunity for you to talk about what you were able to do. Golden Glove, the first person to have it, the first female to have it. Talk to me about that experience and how it all came about.
For me, I always strived from college, playing at LSU, to now being a professional athlete, to live as an example of limitless possibilities. And being able to win the Gold Glove was truly that time where I could have that opportunity. And from that moment, it was a time where it was historic. I was able to break that barrier for women in sports because before 2016, when I had won, it was considered impossible, right, for a woman to win that award. And now I want young women, I'm excited young women can look at it as impossible, as nothing more than just a challenge, and to know that the only limits that they ever have in this world are the ones that they place on themselves. And for me, it was something that truly drove me to continuously work towards my passions and my goals as the first woman to now be able to walk through that door so other women can walk through more doors.
Yeah.
And the next time someone wants to suppress your dreams or tell you can't do something or say that you can't go for your plan A because it's never been done, you say plan B would only distract from my plan A, and it hasn't been done yet.
All right.
I love the yet of it. And backstage, you and I did discuss this. There are so few softball players that we are familiar with in terms of popularity and
Right.
attention. And there are a few that get it. We've had these moments like with Little League and Monet Davis, Lo Chamberlain, and I've mentioned these names to you, people who are sometimes highlighted on specific networks, ESPN and such. Why do you think that there is a lack of attention to what you all do in softball?
I think we're always being compared to men. And so men are easily given the attention just because of what they're looked at as being heroic or something that's not human. And so you have these athletes that are they're getting the praise that they so rightly deserve, but women we're being compared to when we don't get the same media coverage, we don't get the same respect, and then when we do get the media coverage, it's not to the same level that a male is. So it looks like people have this perception that it's not as exciting, that's what you'll hear, or that we just don't have, the interest isn't there. And with college softball, my personal sport, college softball has had higher ratings than the male College World Series for the past couple of years. And it's been proven that softball is a sport that wants to be watched. 1.8 million viewers were watching in 2015. Last year had the highest viewership, and that was more than 2015. So it's proven softball is a sport you want to watch. I think that it's now a point where people need to celebrate us as athletes. Knock down those stereotypes, celebrate my muscles, right? Whether it's in the media, whether it's brands, whether it's fashion. Know that I am someone that is a strong, powerful, dominant woman, and I should be described as such.
We celebrate it.
And it's the framing.
I hear this often, and I love all the women who are like, keep going. I hear this often when I interview a lot of female athletes. They said, I'm an athlete. There's not a difference between what I do. I'm a huge fan of the WNBA. I live in Los Angeles, go to a lot of games with the Sparks.
Yep.
And the game is exciting. And there's something about, there's a back and forth, a pull. And especially when we talk about, travel accommodations and pay equity. And you came in 7 months on the job, and she was able to broker a deal that I think is really on the forefront of changing the respect level of which many of your athletes will have. Can you tell everyone about that?
Yeah, first we tripled the top pay of our top players tripled to over $500,000. That in and of itself is amazing. But you know, as I came in, I did a 12-city tour, I looked at assessment of the league, the economics, and we didn't have the right economic model. And this is what I was hired to come in and look at. And these are two amazingly elite athletes, but they don't get the media coverage. Less than 4% of all media coverage covers women's sports, and less than 1% of all corporate sponsorship dollars goes to women. So that's whether it's an endorsement of you as an individual athlete or a league or a team, and team sports is even worse than individual athletes. So this is a broken ecosystem. I think the quality of the game, and obviously the quality of softball, the quality of surfing, quality is there for women. It's the ecosystem around it. So what we tried to do in our collective bargaining agreement, which we just announced in January, 8-year deal, long-term labor piece, but really bet on women. Really do a holistic, it wasn't just pay, it was also full maternity leave for as long as you need it. The whole fertility benefits, travel upgrades, childcare stipend, but most important to me, quite frankly, and it was all important, was the average tenure of a WNBA player is, let's say, 8 years. They're all college graduate, they're 30, and now what do they do for the next 30 years? And so it was off-season employment and placing them in broadcast roles and coaching roles and with corporations who will become sponsors. So it was really a holistic view to say that WNBA is the place for these elite female athletes to work year-round, league marketing agreements, but lots of money. The owners have been extremely doubling down and betting on women and betting on making this a sustainable long-term model, because we're tipping off our 24th season in May. Had a very active free agency period. We need to build big rivalries. We need to build household names and value in the franchises, because that's how you get the media deals and the sponsorships, when you drive that interest in rivalries and sponsorships. 40 years into the NBA, by the way, the NBA was on tape delay. They didn't have billion-dollar TV contracts. And they had one big rivalry come around, and that was Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Boston to LA, covered coast to coast, and everybody got interested in, and then Michael Jordan came along a few years later, the marketing phenom. So that's our goal, is not to replicate that, but is to find those household names, market them, use our sponsors and our partners. ESPN's been a long-time partner since the beginning of the league and is helping us expose the world, quite frankly. We have 20 global players now in the WNBA. We're global now. And so it's such an important time with the women's empowerment and the women's movement to drive all of these athletes. And I do believe our collective bargaining agreement will be the model for other leagues.
Kathy, huh?
Yes.
7 months on the job, guys. Like, I'm really impressed.
A lot more to do, though.
A lot more to do. But what she talked about, I think, and I'll ask you ladies, is I think a lot of it is you do have to have that one person or that one superstar that drives the sport. So for basketball, it's LeBron or Anthony Davis or Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? So you're tuning in to see these rivalries and whether or not these guys are the players. For you, Bianca, specifically in surfing, you don't get the same immediate attention. So how do you and how are people you're working with, because you talked about the program you've developed, try to get that attention and let people know that you're just as amazing as any other male who's the best in the sport?
Yeah, great question. So what I noticed was that not only do I catch huge waves, but the second I started using my waves to speak up on behalf of creating equality, people started paying a lot of attention. And I don't know if anybody saw the cover story of the New York Times Magazine in 2019. That was the story of my friends and I getting equal pay by having California rule makers and gatekeepers rethink the way that they were giving permits for our public resources, because surf competitions happen on public lands. So if you're having an all-men's event and no women are included, that's like against our Constitution.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah.
But so I really like what Kathy's talking about. She's creating a template for all the other leagues to use. And like what we're doing, we created a template for all the other states to use. So what I'm wondering is like, how can we all come together, like softball, basketball, surfing, snowboarding, everybody, boxers,
Soccer, yes.
divers, and level the playing field together and all really unite and do it faster.
and you said that you wanted to do other things, perhaps broadcasting, because it doesn't necessarily pay. In your perfect world, what does your contract look like for being a professional softball player for you? What does it look like in terms of taking care of your family? And she talked about maternity leave, not being penalized for having children.
In my perfect world, it would look like the performance you see on the field, right? Major League Baseball players get paid per their performance. If you're excelling on the field, you get paid more, and I feel that should be the same landscape for women in sports. My perfect world, softball players, professional softball players wouldn't have to have second jobs in order to sustain their lives. They wouldn't have to retire early simply because softball, their sport that they should be able to dedicate all their time to, they cannot financially do so. And so I would want it to be a circumstance where we're not forced to put our bodies through so much going overseas, which I know is the same in the WNBA, where you have to do extra in order to get still not even half of what the men are getting. And yet we put in the same amount of work, we work just as hard, and we play just as hard, and we look better doing it. But we don't get paid the way that we should.
And maybe, Cari, I can just comment, and because AJ makes such a great point. This is about the way we get valued, whether it's we get valued because we put a patch here, we have a placement on the court, you get valued for attendance and media hits and social media hits, and we get thrown into a spreadsheet or an algorithm that's male, that was devised for men's sports.
Yeah.
And then they then take a discount on females once you spit out the algorithm's outcome. And so my goal really is to work with those people who are coding in those spreadsheets and that algorithm, because I assure you, no spreadsheet ever yielded a good answer for women or women's sports, and certainly not the WNBA. So I've seen these spreadsheets now, maybe my finance background, I'm like, I want to see numerators, denominators, I want to see the black box, because I assure you, that's where we fall off, and you don't get the support that you can get paid what you deserve, because that algorithm's spitting out a value that's below where the men are.
Ladies, we're going to have to wrap here in just a moment. Bianca, they all talked about in a perfect world what it would look like. Kathy gave the model of what she's doing and so much more work to do. AJ said she looks good, so she should get paid good. and I am a fan of that. Talk to me about what you would like to see in your world.
I mean, yeah, I would love to not have to work 3 jobs to support my surfing, because that's pretty much what I do currently. But I guess by the way, after we earned equal pay, the tour was canceled. So never got to surf in the event, but did get all female athletes in surfing, equal pay, so that was a big deal. But then as an athlete who wants to just compete in an event and not getting the opportunity, you're just like, crap, you know? So I guess what I always come back to every day is just to try to ride a better wave every day. And I think that's something that every single one of us can do no matter what we do. If it's in the water, on the land, you can wake up every day and make a choice to ride a better wave.
Yeah.
Wow.
AJ, Bianca, Kathy, please give it up for these trailblazing women. Now, let's ride a better wave.